Alright guys, in a few minutes I'm going to show you the dumbest looking stadium in the NFL. Now I'm talking about just how the stadium looks. Something looks really odd about it. Something really that drives me nuts. But before that, I'm going to show you two other stadiums, two honorable mentions, two stadiums that I think look kind of dumb. Not as bad as the number one, but they're pretty dumb all the same. Let's scroll on here. Here's a list of the 30 stadiums. Now there's 32 teams, but only 30 stadiums. That's because there are two stadiums that are shared by two teams. We've got the stadium in New Jersey, which is the MetLife Stadium, which is shared by the Jets and the Giants. And then we have the SoFi Stadium, which is home to the LA Rams and the LA Chargers. So that's why there's only 30 stadiums but 32 teams. Let's have a look at the two honorable mentions. The first one is Levi's Stadium. Levi's Stadium, which is in Santa Clara, California. It's home to the San Francisco 49ers. So let's have a look at some pictures. Let's see what I'm talking about here. Now look at this stand here. This looks really cool. It's got like 3 really big tiers and 1 smaller tier here, the third tier. But look at this stand here. It's a lot thinner than the other one. You can't really see it at this angle, but I'm going to show you more pictures. Here's another one here. This is the stand I'm talking about. And look how it just doesn't match up with any of the other stands. We have a huge gap here. There's a gap here at the other side. And not only that, but we have this stand here. It just ends abruptly. Now, a lot of stadiums are like this. And then we have this gap here where we have advertising for Pepsi. We have this huge TV screen here. They're not so bad, but what I want to focus on is this huge gap here and the gap here at this side. Here's another picture here. You can see this gaping gap here. And look at this stand here. It's just, instead of being like a main stand that goes back beyond the field, it just goes straight up. Look at that. These are all your corporate seats and so on, where companies pay lots of money and VIPs are seated. And some of them are in enclosures here at the top, glass enclosures. Next up, we have this picture. Again, you can see it ending abruptly here. And here is this corporate area here, this VIP area. And you have this gap here. Now, one thing that's good about this stadium is that this gap doesn't go all the way down. We have the bottom tier here. Like I said, this is an honorable mention, so it's not terrible by any means. So here we can see clearly the gap. Now, this is like a mezzanine area where people can just walk by. And here it looks like a little shop where you can buy overpriced beer and hot dogs. And here is one of the stands behind the goals. Now, this is a decent stand. It's got a few tiers, but it just ends right there. And this is where like your corporate VIP area is here. And there's the huge gaping hole. So Levi's Stadium. Now, part of the reason why I have it here is because it was open in 2014. So this is a pretty new stadium. This stadium is only 7-8 years old. And for such a new stadium, I think this stand here that just facilitates corporate people and VIPs, I think it just really takes away from the overall look of the stadium. Now imagine what the stadium would look like if the entire stadium was like this side here. And if it was all joined up nicely, it would look fantastic. But this stand here just ruins it, in my opinion, you know. But there you go. They have to cater to the corporates, the VIPs. And bear in mind, this is the San Francisco 49ers. So you're going to have a lot of tech people here, tech billionaires. And they want to go to their game, even though they got absolutely no interest in football. And they just want to take their selfies up here in these corporate boxes. But it kind of ruins the overall look of the stadium as far as I'm concerned. Okay, guys, so what is our second honorable mention? Well, in alphabetical order, it comes right after Levi's Stadium, We are talking about the Lincoln Financial Field, which is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The stadium is home to the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was opened in 2003, so 11 years before the Levi Stadium. So let's have a look at some pictures. So this is from outside. Now look at this gigantic gap right here in one corner of the stadium, and there's another gap here, which we're going to see in a minute. And this one here has a gap, but it got filled up by something. We'll see that in a minute. So here is another view from outside the stadium. And here we can see the gaps. There's one here, and one here. So here's a view from inside the stadium. So look at this stand here. It's sitting there all by itself, which looks really stupid. And underneath we have these billboards. So we got 4 advertisements there. We've got Bud Light and some airline there, and there's 2 more in the center. And look how dumb it looks that you have these huge billboards advertising there. There should be seats there for fans, and instead it's just this huge advertising area and then this stupid looking stand all by itself. And look at this gap here. They put in like this little stand here. And let's have a look at the other side. More advertising here, and again you could have fans here instead. Now it doesn't look as bad because it's surrounded by seating here. Now here you can't really see it, but we're going to look at what's here at this corner in a minute. But look at this corner. This is the only corner of the stadium that's actually filled by seats. So this corner looks pretty good. There's a bit of a gap here, but doesn't look so bad. Now let's have a look at this picture. So this one is pretty interesting because here is the stand again by itself with the advertising underneath it. So it's the same one as this right here. But look at the difference here in the corner. We had this little stand here, and here it got changed. We have 4 tiers here. So they added some extra seating. So this is a bit of an improvement, but still not great. It doesn't line up properly. We still have a gap here. So let's look at the next picture. Now this is from the opposite side. So this must have been taken in this stand by itself, the really dumb looking one. Now look at this corner here. I told you there was a big gap, but they put in a TV screen here, so it doesn't look too terrible. And again, here's the corner that actually has seating, the only corner. But look at this screen here behind the goals. Look how it's not lined up centrally. It's kind of over towards the right hand side, and again that kind of annoys me, I have to say. And here is another picture. So this one I think must have been an older picture because it's got like the old stand again, just a little one by itself in the corner. And here again, this whole section all by itself looks like an afterthought. Looks like it was just put in like as an afterthought. And there's a huge gap from this stand to this stand. And then you have the one here in the center, and then the 2 huge gaps here. And I just think it looks terrible. That's my opinion. There you go. Okay, so that was Levi Stadium and Lincoln Financial Field. So what is the dumbest looking stadium in the NFL? Well, let's go up here a little bit to Gillette Stadium. Gillette Stadium is the dumbest looking stadium in the NFL. You're about to see why in a second. It is in Foxborough, Massachusetts, which is close to Boston. It is home of the New England Patriots, and it was opened in 2002, so just 1 year before Lincoln Financial Field. So it is the oldest, but it's still a pretty new stadium, 20 years old. And for a 20-year-old stadium, this has real problems in how it looks. So let's have a look and see what I'm talking about. Here we go. Here is an aerial photograph of the stadium. Now, can you see what I'm talking about? Why does this stadium look so dumb? Well, here it is right here. Look at this huge gap. And this gap, unlike other ones we've seen, goes all the way down to the field itself. So this gap is absolutely gigantic. It like cuts the stadium in 2. It looks terrible. And let's have a look at another picture here. Look how wide the gap is. So the first picture didn't really show you just how wide it is. In this picture, you can see just how wide it is. I mean, I don't know how many meters that is, but that's a really wide gap behind the goals here. And it looks absolutely awful. You can see way off into the distance there. And it's absolutely terrible. And here again, we see the top tiers, like we've seen in other stadiums, ending abruptly there. We're kind of getting used to that. Doesn't look nearly as bad as this gap here, though, that goes all the way down to the field itself. And again, because of this gap here, we got the TV screen that's off-centered. Again, that really annoys me. But there are more gaps, which I'm going to show you right here. So what's going on here? We have these red seats here. I guess these are probably more expensive seats. They're kind of near the center of the stadium, like the second tier up. Good seats here. And we have a gap here between the red seats and the blue seats. So are they trying to separate like the richer people from the poorer people? Trying to create a gap here between the rich and the riffraff? Now here again in this picture we can see the big gap we're talking about. I mean, this is crazy, guys. This looks so stupid. We have a bit of shrubbery here and greenery. I mean, that's nice, but you shouldn't have this in like right behind the goals of a major stadium, you know? Now they have this kind of lighthouse thing here. We're going to talk about that more later. Now here you have like the mezzanine area where people can just walk by and go to the stores and buy their overpriced food and beer. Now here's a view from behind. Now this is where the gap is. Now there's a nice archway here that looks nice. But this goes like if you can walk from here to like inside the stadium right to where the field is. And there's a TV screen. And there's Tom Brady. Well, Tom Brady, look at all the Super Bowls he won with the Patriots. And then he just goes to the Buccaneers and wins the Super Bowl there. So the great era of the Patriots was all down to this guy, Tom Brady. Now here's another picture. Now here we can see the gaps I was talking about between the red seats and the blue seats. I mean, doesn't it look like really stupid here to have these two gaps here? And I think those gaps are on the other side as well. So yes, here they are. So here you can see it close up here. These gaping holes. And then you have like the Gillette advertising here. Gillette Fusion, Oral-B. And let's go over here. And here you can see the gap here. The pretty interesting angle here. Like this gap, and you see this big drop here to the next, to like inside the stadium. And here we can see the big problem here again. It's got the shrubbery and stuff or whatever, but you have the walkway here above the arch. And this, I don't know why they left this gap here. It just looks so stupid. So here's a really cool picture of the old stadium that it replaced, Foxborough Stadium, and here's the new stadium being built. And this stadium, it was kind of decrepit and falling apart. It had two main stands and then two stands behind the goal. And it probably needed to be replaced, but what they replaced it with was just a really, I mean, a lot of it is nice. I mean, the main stands are pretty nice. I don't know why they have a gap here and then at the other side as well. But this gap here, this is the big problem. Now we have an update here because Gillette Stadium is set for a major renovation and it will be kind of centered around this gap, but it's not going to solve the gap because they're going to put in, this is an artist's impression of what it's going to look like, this huge widescreen, super widescreen here. I think they're going to build a new lighthouse that's going to have fan access. So fans are going to be able to climb up here and watch the game from up here, which I guess is going to be kind of cool. There's going to be an extra mezzanine area here just underneath the new screen. And this is where the old screen was, somewhere around here. That's going to be replaced with this mega widescreen. But here we can see the gap yet again. This gap is staying, guys. This gap is not going to go away. So this big problem, which I think makes it the dumbest looking stadium, they're not going to address it. The gap is going to stay there. And down here we can see a view from outside of what it's going to look like. This new section right here is going to be added. This is the archway here. And this is going to be the new lighthouse that's going to replace the old one that had Tom Brady on it. Now, I don't know if it's going to be built from scratch or if they're just going to add to this one. Maybe they're just going to build around this one. But you can be sure that Tom Brady is not going to be on it. Or maybe he is. Who knows? Maybe they will recognize this guy who won, was it 5 Super Bowls for the Patriots? That's what it looks like now. And this is what it's going to look like in the future, in 2023. This is what it's going to look like from the inside. But again, the gap is still going to be there. So this gap is not going to be fixed. They are going to renovate it. They're going to have the walkway and the screen here. But this gap is going to remain. So there you go, guys. The dumbest looking stadium. The gaping hole and the holes on the main stands as well. So there you go, guys. Catch you later.